It's PC Build Week 2 and I'm here with my son Caleb, and today we're out to build something pretty cool, son. We're going to build a home theater PC that I'm going to have all of my movies on, all of my media, and really run all of my TVs on throughout the house. Now, what else are we going to do it? Well, it's also going to act as a console PC. We're going to be running some Xbox 360 controllers through it. What else is it going to be? Energy efficient, super quiet, because it's going to be in an entertainment center. So at the same time, if all of that wasn't enough, we're going to teach my son Caleb how to build a PC. You see, Caleb, if the computer was a person, the motherboard would be like your spine because it's attached to everything. The processor would be like your brain, and the hard drive would be the storage for your brain. The graphics card, on the other hand, is a piece of outside machinery that turns you into a cyborg, which allows you to see bigger and better things. Now let's talk about chipsets. You need to understand chipsets because you need to understand compatibility. Wait, son, wake up, wake up. Were you even listening? Did you even hear anything that I just said? Oh, okay. Okay, well let's get started then. Okay, so Caleb didn't want to be here for the next part, which is basically me shooting and reshooting a bunch of stuff while I'm talking about the parts we're using for this build. So I'll bring him back in here when we're ready to make the PC, but I know that a lot of you are here to hear the parts list and exactly what my mentality was for the parts. First of all, this is a mini ITX build. It needs to be small form factor because it's going in front of our entertainment center, which should be really cool. Like I said, I'm going to be hooking up Xbox 360 controllers to it, and for that same reason, because I'm going to actually try to put this kind of in an enclosed drawer with an exhaust area in the back, I want it to be super energy efficient. The less energy you use, the higher quality power supply you're going to use. I guess I mean more energy efficient. If you use like a 90 plus or like a gold rated power supply, then you're going to really just have a lot less heat dissipation from that inefficiency from all that energy. But anyway, back to the build. For the case, I'm going to use the Cooler Master Elite 130. This is a case that I bought about a year ago, but I never ended up using because I always had this build in mind, but just a bunch of other things came up. So excited to finally get to use this case. And for RAM, I'm going to recommend that you go with Corsair Vengeance RAM. I was able to find some Corsair Vengeance RAM, 8 gigabytes for $48.99. So that's cheap, but the RAM I'm actually going to use I got last Christmas for like 45 bucks. It's the G-Skill Aries RAM. I have a lot of stuff laying around here that I bought during the holidays just because of all these really good deals. I'm going to use an i3. Now this is the 4160, which is the Haswell refresh version of this processor, which kind of leads me to the next thing I'm going to talk about. But I wanted to use an i3 because of the low TDP. I could have gone with an i5 and an i7, and we're gonna be testing the i3 versus the i7 on the graphics card I purchased, just to see exactly what I gave up in terms of performance, if there is any. And I've watched some other videos where people have done this and it doesn't seem too bad. But mainly I wanted the i3 because for the games that I'm going to be playing, it's going to be perfectly fine and it's going to use a lot less energy. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Was able to get that for about $109. Now on to the next thing. I wanted to get a motherboard that had USB 3.0 headers. Initially I thought I'm not going to use a Haswell refresh processor because I want to be able to use like a cheap H61 motherboard. I think that's H61 chipset motherboard, and I was able to find like the MSI one for like 40 bucks or 49 bucks. But I was able to pick this one up for $69.99, and the non-Haswell refresh i3 was actually more like $119.99, so it didn't really make sense to me to go with the older board. I went with an H97 board because I don't plan on overclocking this. And really this is one of the first ASRock boards that I've ever used. I typically use a Gigabyte or a ASUS motherboard, just preference in the past, but you know, I've had some good luck with ASRock boards recently and starting to like the direction that they are moving into, so that's why I picked up this one, because I wanted to give it a little bit of a try. Now, as for graphics card, this build what price you're going to spend on it has a lot to do with the graphics card and the processor. You could have gone with like a Pentium G3258 and a 750 Ti if you wanted like an ultra budget build with what I'm doing, and the whole build would have cost around $400 and been able to beat out a console. But my build is more like $700 because I'm using this bad boy. It's the GTX 970. So I'm going to test this graphics card on the PC I currently use, which has an i7-3770K. That's an Ivy Bridge processor, and it's overclocked. But we're going to see exactly how well it does there, and then we're going to see how well it does in the mini ITX build, and then we're going to overclock it. So that's going to kind of be its own review, but you'll at least get a part of that in this video. Also, what else did we use? I'm actually using this on my mic stand, so hopefully that wasn't too loud. But a CS550M is what I'm using. It's a 90+ certified power supply. But what I'm recommending for budgets is the EVGA 500 watt power supply, which I was able to find for as low as $24.99. So this power supply here is going to cost you more like anywhere from $50 to $75. So I got it back at Christmas. Again, another Christmas purchase for like 45 bucks. So what that's going to do is it's going to be super energy efficient, and like I said, get rid of kind of all that extra heat dissipation and keep my system super cool. Anyway, that's the basics of this build. Other than that, I'm going to use a 3 terabyte green Western Digital hard drive. That's a 5400 RPM hard drive, so it's just going to be a little cooler. But mainly I got that one because it was cheaper, and I'm cheap, and you probably are too. So since this is going to be running all the time, pretty much throughout the day, and I'm going to be hooking up Chromecasts that will kind of link into this thing. I'm going to show you, that's a lot of information for stuff coming up forward, but we're going to be using Plex for all of that. Because it's going to be on at all times, I just wanted to keep it very, very energy efficient. Other than that, and you don't have to do this, I'm going to be using a solid state drive with this just to keep boot times low. I like to use a cheap, you know, like 128 gigabyte solid state drive just for my boot drive for pretty much every machine that I build. So you're probably like me too. So if you want to add that in, those right now are pretty cheap. You can probably buy one for as little as like, you know, 60 bucks or something. Okay, so I didn't put a bunch of build a PC slow motion film ready together for you guys or anything like that. But I got my son Caleb here, and we just kind of ended up putting the final touches on this machine. I have to tell you, this is one of my first this is really the first ITX build that I've ever done. I've worked with micro ATX lots in the past, but my first ITX build, it was a little bit difficult. Caleb was able to put on the motherboard, install the processor. What'd you do? You did the RAM too, and stuff like that. And was it that hard? No. Not too bad. When we got to like the power supply and cable management and stuff like that, I'll show you guys in a minute. It was a little bit more tough, and Dad had to take over for a few minutes. But I think overall we're pretty excited to have it. Our console slash Plex slash server slash whatever else we're going to do with this thing. We're excited. I'm not going to sell this one. This is going to stay in-house and going to be something that I'm going to be using for the next several years. Anyway, overall really excited to test it out and try out a few games on it. And speaking of games, here's a few benchmarks.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Okay guys, pardon the mic on this part, but I wanted to get you up and close to look at this thing. And I know that the camera might be a little shaky, but it's the only way that I can really get you in there so I can tell you what I'm thinking. Overall, the CM130 was great to work with. I have big hands, so it's a little hard to get in under there. And this might seem like a mess to some of you, but there were probably I probably used 20 cable ties so far just to get it like this. The main thing that I'm trying to do with this case is to just get this fan right here pushing air that way without a bunch of cords in the middle. If you look up here on top, you can see that I've stuffed as many cables as I possibly could in here with the hard drive. And I'll probably do just a little bit more before the end of this. But even trying to make it look remotely good is very difficult. So this is about as organized as I could get. I stuffed some cables down here in the side. If you guys end up doing this, you'll know what I mean. But you want to shove some cords under the motherboard here, shove cords back here, and overall, front to back, you've got airflow, and that's mainly what you want. Again, this is a low energy build, but that doesn't mean we don't want at least some level of airflow here for all of our parts. And it is going to kind of be in an enclosed location. It's going to be hanging out the back of an entertainment center. So let me get you a look at the other side here. I'll just turn it around slightly so you guys can have a look. Here's a GTX 970. Now, I'm cheating a little here because this GTX 970 is actually going to go on my main rig, and then I'm going to throw a 660 Ti that I've got laying around here in this machine. I figured I'd rather have the 970 in here because I might eventually get a second 970. I typically game in 1080p. I'm kind of transitioning to 1440p. But I really don't mind 1080p still, and I think a lot of people are that way as long as they can play in Ultra. And so for that, the 970 does a really good job, and I'm going to have another video up and coming that's going to show you the benchmarks for this machine using the i3 here and the i7 and another machine that I have. Anyway, overall, I was just very impressed. Hopefully you guys aren't distraught with my cable management here. I really did about as good of a job as I could do, and we're going to tuck some of this back in once the case goes on. Some of this is going to tuck in a little bit more neatly and things like that. Alright, hopefully you enjoyed those benchmarks. I wanted to do benchmarks of an i7, but something really terrible happened while I was filming this video. I moved my GTX 970 from this ITX build to my main rig where I'm going to be putting it and maybe buying another GTX 970. And as I was taking out the old video card from my main PC, I pulled it very gently. The PCI Express X16 slot, the plastic ripped off of it like halfway. So I've already RMA'd that board. I'm not the only one that has had this issue, so I was just looking around at this particular board, and other people had had the exact same issue with it. So I RMA'd it to Gigabyte. Gonna be getting that back soon. But if you're wondering why the audio is all like very basic, it's because I had all of that audio on that other machine, and I RMA'd it and forgot to get it off, and I didn't want to transfer the hard drive over as well, and so you get what you get, I guess. Other than that, I did buy a kilowatt meter for this machine just to test it out and test out some other appliances that I have in my house. I'm trying to go energy efficient a bit, and this machine, when I'm like just browsing or watching a YouTube video, it uses about 50 watts. When I'm playing like Battlefield 4, it uses as much as like 200 watts, hovers around that. And when I'm playing a relatively easy game, you know, like a Hearthstone or something like that, it uses about 80 to 100 watts. So pretty interesting on that front. Overall, a very, very energy efficient machine. It's quiet. I actually ended up removing one of the fans that the case comes with, the side fan, just because I didn't feel like I needed it. I still kept intact the front fan, but you can put a radiator in the front as well for the CM130. Anyway, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Hopefully you didn't mind the audio. We have a lot of really cool exclusive videos coming up. I can't really talk about everything that's going to be happening, but hopefully you'll stay tuned. Also, when I get this motherboard back, I'm going to be doing a review of the i7, my i7 3770K overclocked with the GTX 970 at super clocked from EVGA, and we're going to push it to the limits and see how far we can go. And we're also going to compare those i3 and i7 numbers, because it's not something that's very well represented on the internet. Everybody says, hey, an i5 is good enough, but nobody really talks about an i3 versus an i5 or an i7 all that much. So that's going to come up soon. Hopefully you'll stick around for that. Hey, help me out by pressing like and subscribe for this video. I ended up breaking my computer to do this video, so you know, that's worth a like, right? Also, tweet to me. I'm actually finally doing the whole Twitter thing, and I'm on there, and I'm having a great time with everybody that's on there. Tweet to me at Top10Gamer. Join our forum at Forum.toptengamer, and you can Forum.toptengamer.com, and you can get in touch with me and ask me any question that you have. Anyway, hope you guys make it a great day, and we'll see you next time.